So, you bought a laser, and you must think you're real cool now, huh? Well, guess what, buddy? You are. Because these things are awesome. I mean, it's a laser. What's not to love about a laser? There's nothing cooler than a laser. Maybe a pony farm. Ponies are cool. But we got a Laguna PL1220 here, and I'm gonna show you some awesome projects that you can do on almost any laser, and a couple that you could only do on a machine as cool as this. If you wanna find out what they are, you better stay tuned. Don't try to skip, there's no skip button. Don't look, I checked, it's not there. Anyways, bye! Now that you got your laser in the shop, what now? Like, how do you get your cool ideas and then get them in the machine and then make it go? For that, you're gonna need some software. Laguna offers something called RDWorks for free, and it works pretty well. RDWorks works. I'm funny. But they also recommend something called LIGHTBURN. Now, LIGHTBURN is not a free application. It is about $40 to $80, depending on which kind of controller you have on your laser, but it's well worth it. It comes with 2 licenses, so you can have one in the shop, have one on a computer at home, and not have to sweat when you're working on designs. And it's also very robust, and it has a huge community around it, which means that if you ever run into an issue, it's pretty easy to find a solution. Just do a little, good old school Googling, and you're all set. So we're gonna be using that to make a couple of cool designs. First one is this. I have this little keychain of random materials that I tend to cut a lot of with samples on them. Now this tells me what power, what speed I need for each one of these cuts. These are super invaluable to my process because I constantly forget what they are, and it makes it really easy to remember and see what it looks like. If I need a darker burn or a lighter burn, this is very good to have. So I'm gonna show you guys how to make one of these out of some hardwood materials that I'm gonna be using. This sample card was the first project I ever did on my laser because, well, I had no idea what the heck I was doing and what settings to use. So, like the lottery, I just picked some numbers I like, put them into speeds and a power, and saw what I got as a result. So these are the numbers that I ended up with. However, based on your laser's power, you're probably gonna have to adjust these accordingly. So just keep that in mind. But if you find a good set of numbers that give you a nice consistent burn, use those as your default so that you get a nice baseline for comparing different types of wood and how they react to a laser. Our first sample is gonna be a 1/4 inch ash board that I apparently have left over from Valentine's Day. Now, this laser is able to cut through this 1/4 inch piece of ash in a single pass, but your results may vary. Nice clean cut. That is just perfect. Next, we're gonna move on to some maple. I'm gonna take some measurements and take it throughout the entire board because the thickness may vary. Then throw those numbers on top of your sample file and get to lasering. Now, while you're watching it laser, you could just, do a little dance, because why not? And then dance along with the laser going side to side, because, you're an adult, you can do that. Another perfect cut. This one looks really good on maple too. But next, you knew it was coming. We have to do some walnut. Walnut engraves incredibly well in a laser, and it really pops when it's oiled up. So it looks especially good on cutting boards and coasters and, well, pretty much anything you're gonna hit with a little bit of oil. Look at that color. Beautiful. These little pre-cut samples are probably one of my favorite things because it's just a quick reference. I really don't have to do any thinking. I don't have to rely on my last setting in the program because, well, I tend to change material up a lot, so I'm often wrong with what the settings are. So this definitely saves me a lot of time, and keeping them on a little ring like this keeps them nice and organized, and I just keep them by my laser. Next, let's talk about one of my favorite things to do on my laser, and that's gifts, or really personalization of gifts. Whether that's for family, friends, or customers, personalization can take a project from a 9 to a 12 with just a couple clicks of a button. I tend to save a lot of scraps, as you can see on the shelf behind me, of offcuts and some nicer woods, and then I glue them up, throw them in my CNC, and make things like this. I make custom trays. Whatever piece of offcut I have, I just customize a tray to that. Whatever thickness or wood I have, doesn't really matter. These come out great, And then I can put them in a laser and throw my logo on them, or a custom, name or dumb joke or recipe, whatever. Not only with trays, but cutting boards. That's another thing I make a lot of. These are very simple to do. There's always an offcut or two laying around that you can glue up into these little mini bar boards or something a little larger, and they engrave great. Now, let's say you don't make custom cutting boards or trays, or you don't have a CNC, that's fine. You can find objects in a store and engrave them and personalize them to make them extremely special to the person you're giving them to. In this case, I got an IKEA cutting board, little bamboo cutting board that you can get at IKEA. I think this one was like $5. This big one's like 12 or something. You can take one of these, they engrave great, and customize them to your heart's content, or to your loved one's heart's content. Anyways, let's do that with this. I do a lot of laser engraved cutting boards, so I already have a file in LIGHTBURN with family name and established and all that. We don't need any of that. We're gonna erase the name and drop in pTree's bar. Yeah. And then let's move that off to the side. Let's look for a font, something that's modern, sophisticated, something that says I'm a gentleman. Let's see here. Oh, yes. This definitely screams I'm an adult and I have a laser and nothing could stop me. I love it. Let's just tweak that a little bit and let's get on that board. Now, all joking aside, this laser is truly incredible. It cuts a crazy variety of materials and it engraves even more. Anything from rubber, leather, to some metals, fabric, cardboard, wood. So next time you're out there, look for a blank slate gift that you could personalize for one of your family members. Ain't that special, huh? It's got my name on it. It's perfect. pTree's bar. Now, however, I don't have a bar yet. Maybe at the next place? Maybe I'll build one in a shop.
What?
It's probably dangerous. Anyways, I'm very excited about this, and you can do that very easily for anyone, just with a couple minutes on your laser. Next, we're gonna move on to boxes. Now, I know what you're asking yourself. How are we gonna make a box on a laser? Well, don't worry, I'll show you. It's all about box joints. I mean, it's right there in the name. Box joints. It probably went the other way, whatever. So we're gonna use the laser to cut out some very thin plywood or hardwood, depending on your choice, to make boxes. Now with that box, I'm not gonna make a solid box. I actually wanna store my CA glues. They tend to be all over the place, all over my shop, and I'd like one centralized place where I can store them, including the accelerator that goes with them. So that's what we're gonna work on now. I went around the shop and collected all of the CA glue that I have. And yes, I know I have a problem. I got it all in one place, and then I started taking some measurements. I figured out a design I might want to go with, and then I took some measurements of the diameter of all the items. Once I got all that, I headed over to festi.info/boxes.py. And yes, I know it sounds like a site that you might not want to visit, but trust me, it is remarkable. This is an open source site with a variety of customizable box designs that you can simply download for free. Now, we're gonna head over to shelves and paint storage, and we're gonna be making something very similar to this paint caddy. If you simply hit generate, you will get the generic paint caddy design, but we're gonna modify it a little bit. After doing some tweaking and modifying the different parameters, we landed on this design. Now, if you right click it, you can simply save it as an SVG. After saving the file to your computer, you'll want to import it into LIGHTBURN. Verify that this rectangle on the bottom left is 110. That means your dimensions of the entire caddy are correct. Then delete anything extra that you might have in there that you don't need, and then ungroup any sections that you plan to modify. In this case, we're going to be removing these 4 circles and replacing it with one single circle that will fit our accelerator. Now in this case, we have to modify the size. The dimensions are 69 millimeters, nice. And then we are going to center it on the center of the caddy body. After that, we want to select everything, set it to cut, and let the machine do what it does best, cut. I absolutely love this laser, and I could watch it cut every single day. I've had it now for about 7 months, and honestly, I don't see myself ever not owning a laser anymore because, well, I get to make cool stuff like this. After it's all cut, everything pops out, no problem, and time for sanding. Now, I'm assuming you guys don't actually want to watch me sand, so why don't you head down below, check out the links that I have, and make sure to hit subscribe, and of course, tap that notification bell for notifications on future videos. Okay, now that we got our adult Legos here, it's time to assemble it. Now, just trying to think of what I should use to hold this all together. Oh, maybe some Scotch tape? Nah. I think I'll use the CA glue. What do you guys think? Yeah, let's do that. Can I share a secret with you guys? CA glue? It's just super glue, but with like a cool edgy name, CA glue. And that spray you see me using is the accelerator spray. It basically makes it dry instantly, so it makes it even more super gluey. Anyways, I'll include the links to all these below. I'm not gonna lie, I am super stoked for this. I'm pretty OCD about my storage, and this just, this just makes me so happy inside. But what makes me even happier is the next project we're gonna work on, and that is using the rotary tool. Now, if you're not familiar with the rotary tool, it's an awesome attachment you can add to your laser that essentially allows you to rotate a tumbler or, you know, a round object of sort, such as, I don't know, maybe this little cooler. Because what's the point of drinking a cold beverage out of one of these coolers if your name's not on it? Like, no point. So let's do it. Let's brand. Here it is. So this is a rotary tool. We're gonna set this up inside the machine. I'm not, however, gonna go into detail on how to install it, as well as how to set up all your settings in LIGHTBURN. That's honestly a whole video on its own. What I'll do instead is link two videos. One on setting up this inside the machine, and the other one on setting up your settings in LIGHTBURN. First, we gotta make some room for the rotary tool. So I clean up the bed, drop the Z almost all the way down. Then I install the rotary tool. Next, I line up the Y-axis and I use a dowel to find center and make sure that's level. Now that the Y is set, we disconnect it and connect the rotary tool. Now the Y-axis is controlling the rotary. We do our first test and it's a little squished, but we do some dialing in. So that's not too bad. We are almost perfectly dialed in here. I like it. Let's do another test. And this one goes perfect. Guys, this looks awesome. Like, it's actually way better than I thought it was gonna be. This was our little squish test, but we're finally dialed in the steps per, you know, rotation on the machine, and that's great. However, I think it's time to go full scale. This is just a tumbler that I have that if I mess up, I won't be too upset. And then we're gonna put in the one that I really want. So let's do it. After all that tweaking, dialing in, and testing, we got a perfect burn on my first tumbler. I was so stoked. Ooh, baby, this is so cool. I never thought I'd be able to do stuff like this. Like, I just have to do a little bit of cleaning. Clean it up a little bit. Had some residue. Oh man, this is so cool. I'm legitimately just gonna like engrave every tumbler I have. Awesome. Well, I got good news. A little bit of degreaser and some elbow grease and magic eraser, and boom, it's nice and clean. Now, hopefully this will focus. Yeah, look at that. Look at that shine. This is awesome. I did a couple of sample cuts. There may have been an old logo here that I got rid of, but I think this is great, and I already have another one loaded up, which is the, you know, the real one. So there's no going back. We're gonna do it and double-sided too, and then clean it up and see how it looks. So let's do it now. To clean it up, all I had to do was spray a little bit of degreaser and let it sit for a few minutes. After it soaked for a bit, I went ahead and cleaned up just one side so you can see the contrast of clean versus unclean. Look at that shine coming through. Then I went ahead and cleaned up the rest of it. Look at how clean this came out. And with that, with this project, this video is a wrap. Thank you to everyone that stuck around this long. Hope you guys enjoyed these projects. Hope you got a little inspired for some projects of your own. And if there's something you want me to try or you think I should have done differently, please let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, throw me a like, make sure you're subscribed. And if you want to see when the next video drops, make sure to hit that notification bell for, well, notifications. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. I love you. Bye. Face detection. Good, cool. Right, you got me? Yeah, you did. Stay focused on me. There we go. Focus, focus, focus. There we go. Ugh, why do I do this? This is stupid. Just stand there and just do an intro. Why are you...